Well, hello everybody and welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make ginger kisses. Now these are very popular in New Zealand and I think in Australia, and they're similar to whoopie pies, a sort of a soft ginger cookie or cake, two of them sandwiched together with a simple buttercream icing. And you can make them whatever size you want, really. I'm going to make a reasonable size, but only a very small batch because they're best eaten when they're fresh on the day they're made. But you can you can double the recipe or quadruple the recipe, would do whatever you want really to make more. So, as I said, it's very easy, and we start off by preheating the oven to 170 degrees Celsius, 150 Celsius with a fan, 340 Fahrenheit. And I've lined a couple of trays with silicone mats, but you can use parchment paper. So I'll go on to the ingredients. And for this I have 97 grams, 2/3 of a cup, minus 1 teaspoon of plain flour. I have 4 grams, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a gram, 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 3 grams, 1.5 teaspoons of ground ginger, and a pinch of salt. And then I have 37 grams, 3 tablespoons minus 1 teaspoon of unsalted butter at room temperature, 66 grams, 1/3 of a cup of golden caster sugar, but any sugar, granulated or caster sugar is fine, and 1 medium egg, which would be large in the USA. I'm also going to use 1 tablespoon, 15 millilitres of golden syrup in this mixture, and then for the icing I'm going to use 1 teaspoon, 5 millilitres of golden syrup, along with 61 grams, 1/4 of a cup plus 1 teaspoon of unsalted butter, again at room temperature, and 85 grams, 3/4 of a cup of icing sugar. But I don't need those for the time being, so I'll set those two to the side and we'll make the batter for the cakes or cookies. And to do that I'm going to put my sugar and butter into a bowl, and I'm going to cream those together until they're light and fluffy. And that's good enough like that. So then I'm going to add in my egg, and I'm going to mix that and get that fully combined as well. And that's fine. So then I'll just set that to one side for a moment, and I'll put all the dry ingredients into the flour, the baking soda, the salt, the baking powder, and the ginger. And I'll give those a little mix around, and then I'm going to sift those onto the wet ingredients. That's just so that the baking powder and the baking soda get fairly evenly distributed into the flour, basically. But before I do that, I need to add in my tablespoon of golden syrup. And not measuring it out meant that I almost forgot it. So I'm just going to put a tablespoon into my measure, and that is almost a tablespoon, just a little drop more. And I'll put that in and I'll mix that around as well. That was quick and easy. So then I'm going to sift the flour in. And with my mixer on a low speed, I'm simply going to mix those until they're combined. And that's almost mixed together, but I'll finish it by hand with a spatula. I don't want to over mix the flour basically. And that's good enough like that. So I'm actually going to chill that for 15 minutes. And then I'll come back and I'll divide it into 20 equal pieces, which I can then bake on our baking trays. So I've chilled my batter for 15 minutes and I'm taking 13 grams of batter, which is a good heaped teaspoon basically, and I'm going to put it onto the baking tray. Like that. I'm actually going to form it into a round a bit later on, but I'll put it onto the baking tray like that. And do the same with the remainder, leaving a gap between each one of a couple of inches probably, so that they can spread. So I've divided those up and I've just used a little bit of flour on my fingers to roughly form them into sort of balls or rounds, and I'm going to put those into the oven and I'm going to bake them for 13 to 14 minutes, 13, 14, 15 minutes, until they've spread out and they've risen up and they feel slightly firm to the touch. And at that stage I take them out of the oven and I leave them on the tray for a couple of minutes, then I transfer them to a wire rack, and when they've cooled down completely I'll come back and we'll make the buttercream filling to go inside. So I baked the ginger kiss cakes or cookies for 14 minutes and they rose up quite nicely, and they firmed up a little bit as they've cooled down, but they'll still be quite soft inside, I think. So I'm just put those to one side and I'm going to make the icing, and for that I'll put my softened butter into a bowl along with the icing sugar, and I have a teaspoon of golden syrup which can go in as well. I'm going to mix those together until it forms a nice buttercream icing or frosting, basically. And I'm going to start on a low speed because the icing sugar would tend to go everywhere. So I've mixed that quite well, and that's ready to go onto my kisses. So I've actually paired them up so that they're in pairs that are of roughly equal size, and I'm going to turn over one of each pair. And then I'm going to spoon my frosting onto the underside of one of the biscuits. And that's roughly even. And I'm going to take each biscuit top and I'm going to use it to spread the mixture just a little bit, and then I'm going to press it down just like that. So I've filled the ginger kisses with the buttercream, and I'm just going to leave those so that buttercream firms up a little bit, and once it's firmed up a little bit I'll come back and we'll have a taste. So having left the ginger kisses for the buttercream to set up a little bit, I'll have a taste of one. It's very, very tasty. It's slightly crisp on the outside but tender underneath that crispy crust, and then that sweet buttercream icing. Now, you could also put some ginger into the icing, the buttercream icing, if you wanted to. You could also put more ginger into the cookies or cakes as well if you wanted to. For me, these are just about right. So a very, very easy recipe. Doesn't take very long at all. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.